to the police department from the academy. And again, she's been in my ear trying to get the police department to maybe partner with Hillcrest Hospital. Richmond Heights has now done this with Hillcrest Hospital for training on how to keep people safe. So just wanted to mention that and maybe look into the Richmond Heights program and see if we can get that here in Mayfield Heights. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further comments or questions? All right. Moving to Board of Zoning, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. The BZA will meet tomorrow here in council chambers at 7 p.m. There are 3 items on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Planning Commission, Mr. Balestria.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Planning Commission met on February the 5th. Recommendation by the committee tonight is ordinance 2024-04 to allow the rezoning of 2 plats from U2A to U8, which would be medical office. One property is on Cedar. The other property is on Lander. The properties circumvent the Cedar Living property, kind of make an L shape, but they do touch each other. The rezoning is consistent with the redevelopment in the area, and there is a contingency, and I didn't see it on the desk tonight, but there's a contingency that the fire department has to approve a couple things. Weren't they had approved? No, that was the, never mind, that was the spot. If there's any questions about the rezoning, just, I will take it up when it comes up before us, but there is a probability that there may be a consolidation of those 2 properties in the future. Also, on the agenda tonight is a motion to approve the final site plan for the Trove Med Spa at 30055 Cedar Road. That one had a contingency with approval by the fire department, and I didn't see anything, Mayor, unless you received that. Not yet. Okay. For some fire safety, that needed to be approved before that final plan could be finalized. And I think that concludes my report with planning. Other than the CVS plan was on the agenda, but it was not discussed as the owner asked to be removed from the agenda at this time. That's my report.
Mr. Balestria, we could approve that contingent on the fire's approval, I believe. I see your hand going like that. Mr. Murphy.
Well, I'm sorry, when it comes up, we can put that as a,
Contingency.
we'll amend
Yeah, I just wanted to note that
Motion.
ordinance number 24-04, it has to be on first reading because we need a public hearing on the rezoning. So no action will be taken on that tonight.
okay.
Okay. All right, thank you. We will now proceed to public portion. Pursuant to city code, each person will be allotted 5 minutes to speak, with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for the entire public portion. If you are here in connection with an agenda item, this is your opportunity to address council. However, please note that this is not an opportunity for debate or slighted comments. If you would like to be heard this evening, please fill out a form located on the table at the public entrance. During the public portion, I will address each person wishing to speak. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Speak clearly into the microphone. It is 7:25. I will open up the public portion. This time, I'm going to call up Mr. Scott Halloran. Yeah. Halloran. I told him.
On.
Is it on? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Scott Halloran, I live at 13599 County Line Road in Russell Township, Ohio. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, Police Chief Maley. I'm a lifelong resident of Northeast Ohio, and I live at basically Cedar and County Line. I had my first real Mexican meal at Chi-Chi's on Mayfield Road. I took my driver's test at the Golden Gate BMV, and I celebrated my 21st birthday at the Fox and Hound at Eastgate. I mention all of this because although I'm not a resident, for my entire life, the center of my personal geographic circle has been Mayfield and Somme. This city is part of my community. I'm here tonight to speak about cannabis and a potential dispensary in Mayfield Heights. My partner Andy Rayburn and I founded Buckeye Relief and Amplify Dispensaries in 2017, and we are Ohio's largest medical marijuana company, and one of the very few that's actually owned and operated by Ohioans. At our cultivation and production facility in Eastlake, we employ 123 people, and each of our dispensaries employs another 27. All of our employees are full-time. All of our employees receive full benefits. The annual payroll for each dispensary is around $1.5 million. Ohioans passed issue 2 at an overwhelming 58%, with 65% of the voters of Cuyahoga County voting yes. Ohio currently has 120 medical marijuana dispensaries, and the Department of Commerce will be issuing approximately 125 more licenses starting in June. The program is run by Jim Canepa, whose recent track record includes successfully overhauling the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. We expect adult use sales to start in Ohio by September of this year. Issue 2 provides for a dispensary's host city to receive a tax equal to 3.6% of total sales, which we conservatively estimate at $500,000 to $1 million per year for this host city. Tonight, I want to specifically address the top concerns that we hear. Crime will not increase with a dispensary in your city. Each of our dispensaries is staffed with full-time security, and about 35% of those hours are staffed by off-duty law enforcement officers. Each of our dispensaries has over 100 security cameras, and on more than one occasion, we've assisted local law enforcement with investigations of crimes committed elsewhere in the neighborhood. I would encourage anyone interested to ask Chief Larry Reich of Eastlake about the quality of our security program. On occasion, Chief Reich has acted as both a security guard and a delivery driver for us. I can also point you to similar references from law enforcement in the cities of Bedford and Cleveland Heights. Simply put, in our communities, we are friends of the police, and we are more secure than virtually any other retail establishment. We do not and will not target or sell to children. Our business is extremely tightly regulated, and every single scrap of marketing and packaging must be approved by the state to ensure that it is not attractive to or marketed at children. My guess is that nobody in this room loses sleep at night worrying about whether Golden Gate Beverage is selling booze to kids. They are a state licensed store, and they follow very strict guidelines. The rules for our program are going to be much, much stricter, and our company has maintained a perfect compliance record with the state since the day we opened our doors. I do want to show you what I was able to purchase in Mayfield Heights just this afternoon. Planters Pot Peanuts. Stonio cookies. Actual marijuana flower. Vape carts. And Cannaburst gummies. Due to a loophole in the federal farm bill, unnamed, unregulated entities are able to legally peddle these intoxicating products to anyone, regardless of age. No ID required. Many of these products are much more intoxicating than the marijuana products sold in our stores, and they are completely unregulated. Our products are tested, accurately labeled, and only sold to people over 21 years of age. You may worry that a dispensary does not fit with your community values, but I'll tell you that there are cannabis employees and cannabis users currently living in Mayfield Heights. Buckeye Relief has a half dozen employees that live in the city of Mayfield Heights, and there are thousands of medical marijuana patients in Mayfield Heights, Mayfield Village, Lyndhurst, and Gates Mills. I understand that nobody wants Mayfield Road to be swarmed by dispensaries. I don't want that either. In addition to being 500 feet away from a church, park, school, playground, library, daycare, and opiate recovery center, the state is currently prohibiting any dispensary from being within 1 mile of another dispensary. Many communities are also implementing their own rules and zoning regulations to govern dispensaries so that they don't end up with Weed Alley in their hometown. The city of Mayfield Heights should have 1 dispensary. I'm encouraging all potential host communities to consider each dispensary owner, operator individually, as we are not all created equal. If you are so inclined, I would welcome the opportunity to speak to your committee of the
Halloran?
whole. Yeah.
You're over 5 minutes.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
Thank you very much for your time.
Have much more to say?
I have one sentence, just to close on.
Say
it.
the
Go ahead.
sentence. You're closer. Go ahead.
Okay. And I would be pleased to show you our retail locations in Bedford or Cleveland Heights, or a farm in Eastlake, if you're so inclined. As I said, it's home for me, and I'd be disappointed to see the city make a decision without full information. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call up Jeffrey Sokoloff.
Jeffrey Sokoloff, 3681 South Green Road, Beechwood, Ohio, 44122. So, Mayor, council members, thank you very much for having me this evening. I'm here to speak about the potential renovation of the CVS building at 5901 Mayfield Road and the potential development of a QSR, freestanding restaurant. We're excited about the possibility of the renovated and re-tenanted CVS building. However, we have concerns about the addition of a QSR restaurant building. This property has been a unified development for many, many years, and I know that many of you have heard a presentation from me in the past, but there are new council members from the last time that I spoke. I wanted to make sure that that all the council people here understand that there's multiple ownership here, and development and redevelopment needs to take all the parties into account. This is not a 10,900 square foot building with a proposed additional 1,900 foot building. Rather, this is a close to 35,000 foot development with 2 existing buildings and multiple property owners who in the past have been able to work together in their mutual best interests. The proposed addition of a 1,995 square foot drive-through quick service freestanding restaurant building is problematic and objectionable. The city has design standards for this district. One of the primary objectives is to create a pedestrian-friendly approach in the city. The design standards say that that their objective is to help ensure that existing alterations and future development along the street are conducive to a more pedestrian-friendly approach. They also say that implementing these standards is vital to achieving an environment that promotes social interaction, special emphasis placed on the value and functionality of the pedestrian space, and ultimately encouraging walking from destination to destination. Introducing a freestanding quick service drive-through restaurant at this location actually is discouraging of pedestrian traffic. Representatives of the developer have stated that there will be 60 cars for every 10 dine-in customers and plus the 10 employees in the premises. The proposed site plan shows a double drive-through. This is the exact opposite of the city's stated objective to encourage pedestrian traffic and walkability. A new drive-through restaurant at this location simply does not belong. The design standards also seem to contemplate single ownership of a development, and this location has multiple owners. Another issue which has come up is how trash is handled, and trash should be serviced behind the existing CVS building or from one of the pads that are servicing the Dollar General anchored building. It should not be in the middle of the parking lot and serviced off of a customer driveway. That's another factor that is discouraging pedestrian traffic. It's my understanding that the city requires a traffic study to approve a new building. I'm unaware of the status of that study at this time or its results. I also want to point out that recently 2 neighboring cities, South Euclid and University Heights, have publicly stated that drive-throughs discourage the pedestrian nature that they are trying to create in their districts. In conclusion, 20-some years ago, Chris Manners and my father foresaw these issues and came to a mutually beneficial agreement in developing the existing CVS building that has worked so well so well, they've worked so well that, in fact, many on this council were unaware until I made it known in October that there were separate owners and separate ownership of this development. Ultimately, I feel that many of these issues can be addressed, albeit perhaps with a different end user. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sokoloff. Is there anyone else here this evening that would like to be heard? Okay. I will now close the public portion. It is 7:35. We'll begin with resolution number 2024-02. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-02, a resolution authorizing and approving outstanding change management agreements to the agreement with the Albert M. Higley Company for the construction of the Mayfield Heights Aquatic Center and the Community Center, and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second?
second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano
Second.
and second by Mr. Minor. We met for a committee of the whole meeting this evening to review the several change orders that we all already have received. Mr. Higley has performed or will perform work not to exceed $706,000. At this time, are there any further questions from what we discussed earlier? Seeing none, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this resolution has been approved. Resolution number 2024-04, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-04, a resolution authorizing and approving Amendment 02 to the agreement with Levelheads, Inc. for the design and engineering of the Mayfield Heights Aquatic Center and the Community Center, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestria and second by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second?
second by Mrs. Sabetta. This resolution is a quote for the engineering services for a multi-purpose sidewalk on Marcel. Actually, I don't think that is correct. That is for, everybody received a paper in front this evening from Levelheads. The Tarragon contract and budget and the undercuts, that's what this resolution is being referred to. What's the second one? Hold on a second. Oh, yeah. So actually, I'm going to, Mr. Trotta, can you come up and explain this one, please? Because the next one is about the paper that you gave us this evening. To the podium, yeah. I thought this was the one for the sidewalk originally. 02.
So this one is with the sidewalk, the design in, yes.
Right,
So
okay.
the sidewalk that we discussed earlier, the 8-foot sidewalk, was our engineering team, Karpinski Engineering, and Langen was the surveyor, and Levelheads as the architect, was to design and implement that sidewalk. So that was the fees for doing the design work, but the construction administration portion would not be done because it's not going to be, built at this time.
Okay. But the design will still be there for future use?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Does every member of council have any questions for Mr. Trotta about this? Sorry, there's been so much in front of us, so I just want to make sure everybody understands what this one's about. Okay. All right. All right, thank you. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this resolution has been approved. We'll now move to resolution number 2024-05. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-05, a resolution authorizing and approving Amendment 03 to the agreement with Level Heads, Inc. for the design and engineering of the Mayfield Heights Aquatic Center and the Community Center, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second?
second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestria and second by Mr. Mano. This resolution is for the additional testing and inspection services required as a result of the undercuts relating to the condition of the site. Inspection was done in 2022 during the construction of this facility. The total amount requested is $8,142.96. This is the remaining service fee. And everybody should have the copy in front of them this evening. Any further questions or comments from council? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this resolution has been adopted. Resolution number 2024-06, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-06, a resolution authorizing all actions necessary to accept Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, NOPEC, 2024 Energized Community Grants and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and second by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, is there a motion to approve?
I have a question.
Wait,
Is there no discussion?
we didn't get to it yet.
Okay.
This is before we get to discussion, and then you
Okay.
call for the vote.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Where were? Oh, is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Belstraya and second by Mr. Mano. This resolution would authorize the city to go out for grants and any grants through NOPEC. Ms. Talbot.
I was just curious. I know that this is for energy efficiency and infrastructure. So do we have a plan for the use, and how much do we think we might get a grant for?
Ms. Scully.
We'll find a use.
Yeah, our award amount this year was $45,781.
Oh.
What was the award last year?
Last year, we received $195,000 roughly.
And do we know what we want to do?
Facility improvements.
Facility, oh.
Big one was the lights, was it not?
Good evening, all. So what we've done with the $195,000 from last year is we started with the municipal complex. The lighting, obviously not in this room, but all of City Hall was roughly $38,000 for the material, $71,000 to install. All that was covered under this grant. Additionally, we took, was it $85,000 or $89,000 for the generator $86,000 of that grant as well and applied it to the generator project. So, which was great. That means we were able to utilize funds from the generator project that were allocated for that elsewhere. Moving forward, typically at a staff meeting, I'll discuss this with the other department heads of what we want to do or what we want to do next. I had talked to the chief the other day about doing some work in his wing of the building. We've utilized this money on new garage doors that were insulated, new entry doors, not here, but throughout the complex as well. So we've been able to utilize these grants to a lot of potential for us here. I think HVAC as well, a couple new units. So it's been good. It's worked out well.
Thanks.
Thank you. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Minor?
Yes.
Ms. Tobin?
Yes.
Mr. Balestria?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Resolution 2024-06 has been approved. Resolution number 2024-07, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-07, a resolution authorizing an engineering services agreement with Glass Pile, Schomer, Burns, and DeHaven, Inc., DBA GPD Group, 5590 Transportation Boulevard, 5595 Transportation Boulevard, Suite 100, Cleveland, Ohio 44125, for the purpose of providing the city of Mayfield Heights with necessary engineering services and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Minor
Second.
and second by Mr. Belstrao. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Ms. Tobin?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Minor?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Balestria?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta
Second.
and second by Mr. Belstrao. Mr. Brunello or Mr. Belstrao, would you like to comment any further than your report earlier this evening?
No, I'll just reiterate that we reviewed the RFPs from 3 different engineering groups. Even though GPD did not come in as the lowest bidder, was highly recommended by the service department to maintain them, especially with all the numerous projects that we're involved with this group, being the road program, dye testing program, et cetera, et cetera. The difference was just a little over $1,000 a month. We took the recommendation of the service department as well as the work that, that I have personally been involved with Joe and his group. There have been some issues that have been corrected. They've been corrected to the degree that we're content as a city, and with Joe stepping in and doing a yeoman's job at correcting those issues. We recommended we go forward with maintaining them for the next contract season, 2 years, I believe.
There's something, Mr. Minor?
Oh, no.
You're good? Anything further from council? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestria?
Yes.
Ms. Tobin?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Minor?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. This resolution has been approved. You're welcome. All right. We will now move to ordinance number 2024-04. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ordinance 2024-04, an ordinance amending the zone map of the city of Mayfield Heights, Ohio, so as to rezone permanent parcel numbers 861-30-10 and 861-30-012, 30071 Cedar Road and 2130 Lander Road from their current U2A1 planned unit development to U8 Office, Engineering, Medical, and Research Building District in the city of Mayfield Heights. First reading, and as I mentioned earlier, this we'll await a public hearing, which maybe will be scheduled for before the next council meeting. So leave it on first reading.
This ordinance has been placed on first reading.
Madam Chair, just so the
Mr.
new
Bell.
council members are aware that any type of zoning changes require the three reading rule in a public hearing, correct? Paul?
Requires public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can do it in less than 3, if you can.
We have one motion on the agenda this evening, beginning with motion A.
A motion to approve the final site plan for a new 11,659 square foot, 2-story building for Truve Med Spa located at 30055 Cedar Road, contingent upon fire department approvals.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and second by Mr. Mano. We have
Miss-
all, we've, oop,
With Mike.
Mike?
Mike, who's second?
Oh, okay. Mr. Balestrea.
Just what I had talked about, this is the final site plan in my report for Med Spa. It's, the location's right on Cedar Road, next to the Sunflower, I believe is the Sunflower development there. Remember that development was never finished. There's a drive there, I think they call it Magnolia Circle, that goes around. So the lot that's next to there is the site. I visited the site, and that's where the spa is going to go. So they met all the requirements, and this is their final plan. It's a really nice-looking building, so.
Okay, great, thank you.
Madam Chair, if you remember, it was where the dentist's office was going to be, too. That was already approved. There was a dental building going to be there. So
Yeah,
generally the same use.
same use.
Perfect. Okay, great. Roll call on the motion to approve. Oh, Mr. Minor, did you have something? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes,
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes?
Ms. Talbin,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Motion A has been approved. Is there a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of pending or imminent litigation?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second?
second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to enter into executive session.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
yes.
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. It is now 7:56, and we will enter into public.
I want some.
It is now 8:25, and we are back in session. Is there any new business or comments from council? Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and second by Mr. Mano. All in favor signify, say it by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Good night, we are now adjourned.